Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaskar. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of New Earth TV Live. So I'm looking forward to a lot of the information that we're going to be sharing today. We're going to be doing a guided meditation here very shortly on inner silence, or basically looking at the Sanskrit term of it, antarmona. Then we're going to be looking into some inner practices. We're going to do a group healing, and then we're going to go into some Q&A after the group healing. All right. So first and foremost, we're going to go ahead and get started with some announcements.
Beautiful, sacred geometrical clothing, apparel, and accessories imbued with spirit source energy to heal, rejuvenate, detoxify, and strengthen the body. Shop now at healingcodeshop.com.
The latest revelation in alternative healing has arrived. The Healing Code Cards, a spiritual technology unlike anything else. Through the power of sacred geometry imbued with pure source energy, physical ailments can become eliminated and detoxified from your body. 36 cards specifically designed to work on the major areas of the body, encouraging natural recovery and increased vitality. Working with the cards are easy, and their healing results are profound. Download our collection of free sample cards so you can experience results for yourself. And don't forget to view our customer testimonials. Our printed Healing Code card deck is available now with shipping available worldwide. Visit our website at healingcodecards.com.
And of course, I am booking private sessions and 3-question private email sessions. So you can check that out at newearthteachings.com. I am currently booking for September. So like I said, after the end of September, I'll be taking a little bit of time off and then bringing the sessions back in early January of 2023. Mainly because I'm working with students. Just gives me a bit more time to work with my students, as I'll be working with them up until January. Then I'll have some time available afterwards to get back into the swing of things with sessions. So again, for private sessions or email sessions, just go to newearthteachings.com. And of course, my third interview with Janine is going to be happening next Friday, July 15th. So of course, there will not be a New Earth TV Live on that Friday, as I'll be interviewing Janine. So 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern on YouTube Live. I'm looking forward to a third interview with her. It's going to be great, so be sure to tune in. All you have to do is just tune into this channel. I will have a little bit more details on the event coming up here later on today, probably around the evening. And I'm currently making a poster for the event, and I'll also have a Zoom link. So if people want to ask questions to Janine, they'll be able to do it through Zoom. So again, check that out, Friday, July 15th, with Tarot by Janine. And finally, everything on this New Earth Teachings YouTube channel is backed up onto Odyssey. And the link is odyssey.com/@newearthteachings. You can also find the link in the video description. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with today's webcast. So again, hello to everybody on the chat. Good to see you all. So today we're going to do a special meditation, another guided meditation. It is commonly referred to as the inner silence meditation, but also referred to as antarmona, which of course means inner silence altogether. So for those of you who want to join me, just get yourself nice and relaxed, nice and comfortable, making sure that you're nice in a nice seated position. We're not laying down for this. You can either be seated in a chair or you can sit cross-legged if you like. And just go ahead now and close your eyes. And just making sure your spine is nice and straight, spine is nice and erect, just breathing naturally. And be aware of your entire body, from the top of your head all the way down to the bottom of your feet. I want you now just to visualize your toes. Let them relax. Visualize your whole feet. Let them relax. Visualizing the ankle joints, the calf muscles, the shin bones. Visualizing the knees. Visualizing the thighs, the quadricep muscles. Visualizing the hips, the sacrum. Visualizing the entire spine moving up, again, nice and straight, letting it relax, but also be erect. Visualizing the fingers, the hands, the wrist joints, the forearms, the elbow joints, the upper arms, let them be loose, relaxed. The shoulders, the neck being nice and straight, but also nice and relaxed. The facial muscles being nicely relaxed. Muscles in the scalp, muscles in the back of the head. Everything just nicely relaxed. Just let your whole body now be still, and let your whole body now be relaxed. And now I want you to be aware of the external sounds in your environment. Being aware of any sounds that are close to you around your external environment. Being aware of any sounds that are close. And now being aware of any sounds that are further away. Any sounds that you may hear in the distance. Just be aware of them. Not attaching to the sounds. And if you hear more than one sound, you're just going back from one sound to another. Just naturally shifting in between multiple sounds. No attachment, no involvement with the sounds. Just being aware of them. The sounds that are close and the sounds that are far. And now bringing your awareness back into the body. Now I want you to be aware of the touch sensation within your body. Be aware of the sensation of touch. Be aware of the sensation of the clothes that you are wearing on your body. Be aware of how those clothes touch you. And be aware of the sensation if you're sitting on a chair or if you're sitting on the floor. Be aware of the touch sensation that you feel as you sit. Be aware of the touch sensation that you just naturally feel within your body. Feeling the touch of the organs, feeling the touch of the skeletal system, feeling the touch of everything throughout your body. The pressure, the touch sensation, just be aware of it. And now being aware of the touch sensation with your breath. As you breathe in and breathe out through the nose, just be aware of the touch sensation as you inhale and as you exhale. Not attaching to the sensation, just being aware of it. And now I want you to be aware of the thoughts within your mind. Letting all of the thoughts in your mind, not attempting to shut out any thoughts, letting them in naturally. Not attaching to any of the stories that the thoughts want to tell you, just being aware of them and just being a passive observer or an uninterested spectator of these thoughts. You are not searching for thoughts. You are not trying to bring a thought up manually. You're just letting the spontaneity of the thoughts appear within your mind and just being aware of them. Not going into their story, not attaching to them, but just being an observer, just being a witness. Just being that uninterested spectator. And just be aware of the thoughts as they spontaneously show up within your mind. Let the thoughts in. Don't try to conceal them. Don't try to push them away. Just let them naturally come in. And just be aware of them. Just being aware of the thoughts, being that uninterested spectator, being that watcher, that observer. And now with your intention, just let go of all of those thoughts. Release them away. Let them be completely released from your mind. As we are now going to create a thought. We are going to create a thought from your past that may have been an unpleasant thought. Whatever that unpleasant thought is from your past, bring it into your awareness now. And you're just observing that unpleasant thought. You are not reacting to it. You are not attaching to it. You're not being involved with it. You're just being aware of this thought that is unpleasant, that has happened in your past. Just observing it, just witnessing it. Again, being that uninterested spectator from a thought that you have created that is unpleasant from your past. Just be aware. Just being aware of this thought. Don't let any other thought in. Just be aware of this thought and this one thought only, the one that you have created that is unpleasant, and just witness. And now let go of this thought. Release this thought. Release it from the mind. And now creating another thought that represents more of a pleasantness, something that feels much more pleasant, something that feels much more comfortable, and just creating that thought right now. Whatever that thought may be, just making it pleasant, making it comfortable. Again, not attaching to it, not involving it, not being involved with the thought. Just witnessing it. Just be aware. Be aware of this pleasant thought that is within your mind, that you have created. Letting no other thought in, just this pleasant thought. And now release this thought. Let go of that thought. Let it be released from your mind. And now you are simply going to observe the inner silence within yourself. Just being aware of the inner silence that is present, where the mind is completely still, the mind is completely silent, and you're just being aware of that blackness behind the eyelids that we call Chittakash. That blank screen behind the eyelids, you're just bringing your awareness there, keeping the mind blank, keeping the mind silent, as you now experience Antar Mona. If a thought arises, release it immediately. If a thought comes up, let it go right away, so that you can remain in the inner silence of Antar Mona. Just be aware of the silent state. And now being aware of your breath. Be aware of the breathing that's coming in and out through your nose. Being aware of the touch sensation throughout your body. Being aware of your environment and the external sounds, near and far. And slowly starting to return as you bring your hands together and start giving them a rub. Feeling that warm sensation as you rub your hands. Just put it over your eyeballs. And just give your face a rub. And when you are ready, you can now slowly start to return back into the present moment. You can open your eyes. Just fluttering your eyes at first and letting them open. And you can now return. Thank you very much for experiencing Antar Mona together with me. Namaskar. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. So, hope you enjoyed that inner silence meditation. Okay. So Katie here on the chat says, silencing my mind is my greatest struggle. Well, that reminds me of a student that has their first yoga class and says to their teacher, flexibility is the greatest difficulty for me. Teacher smiles at them and says, that's why you're here, because we're going to teach you how to be more flexible with the work that you're going to put in. So Katie, this is where I say to you is, that's why you're here. So that you're going to be aware of how to go into the silence of the mind with more practice. Okay? So you can always go back to this recording. You can always go back to this meditation. And the more that you're practicing this, the more that your mind is going to be silenced. Okay? Guys, do you think that when the first time I did meditation, that I was able to silence my mind? No. It took me a very long time. And when I started to discover a practice like Antar Mona, or the inner silence meditation, it really helps to accelerate the ability to keep your mind calm, right? Even when I'm teaching you guys about the non-dual teachings, right? When we're looking into the idea of realizing that we are spirit, that we are God, that we are the self, this is also helping you to move much more into that inner silence, right? But like I said, it's not something that you're going to have accomplished in a day. Rome was not built in a day, and you're not going to achieve inner silence fully within a day. But just like that yoga class that you keep coming back to, you start working with the postures, and over time you start getting more and more flexible. And now you can start doing those postures, and your body starts to feel way more comfortable. It starts to feel relaxed. It starts to feel vitalized. It starts to feel a lot more alive. Okay? The same thing goes with this. You start practicing a lot more of inner silence, and it's going to happen. Okay? We have to train ourselves, guys. It's like taking a yoga class to learn how to be flexible. It's like learning how to ride a bicycle. Okay? You have to learn about balance. You have to learn to keep both wheels on the ground. Keep yourself steady. Sometimes you may fall. It's okay. It's all right if you fall. Okay? Keep practicing. Same thing with inner silence. Same thing with going into no mind. Keep practicing, and you will get there. Okay? So here we go. Layla says, silence is hard to achieve. Guys, if you're a first-time yoga student and you go into yoga class, that's exactly what you're going to say to your teacher. Oh, the flexibility in yoga is so hard to achieve. And she laughs at you again and saying, that's why you're here. You keep practicing day after day after day for weeks, for months, and yes, even for years. And guess what? You'll be flexible. You'll know how to master the postures. So Layla, it's the same thing. You keep coming back every single day. You meditate, you practice, and you're going to notice that your mind is getting quieter and quieter and quieter every single day. Okay? Just like the yoga class, just like riding the bicycle. Okay? You guys can do this. You instantly shoot yourselves down right away when you've only tried this for a first time. Like I said, that's the yoga student shooting themselves down the first day of the class. Stop shooting yourselves down and let yourself go into the inner silence and just practice. Let the practice speak for yourself rather than the ego and the intellect. Okay? The practice speaks for itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on now. We're going to go on into some inner practices today, past Antarmona. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some more heart rate variability breathing, and we're going to do some more of the Hakalau as well too. Okay? So like I said, guys, for you to really get into the flow here, one of the most important things is to get yourself into calmness. Okay? Now I'm going to tell you guys a little secret. Okay? There's a secret behind the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system that you guys need to know. You firstly have to understand that the parasympathetic nervous system is linked directly to your conscious mind, and that the sympathetic nervous system is connected directly to your subconscious mind. Okay? So when you start getting stressed out and you're hyperventilating and you're breathing through the mouth and all of that's going right into your subconscious. When you're stressed, when you're tense, when you're completely just ready to pull the hair out of your head, right? And your breath is expressing that, all of that's going into your subconscious. All of that's going into your sympathetic, which means it acts like a boomerang, and it's going to come around and hit you again. As we start to learn how to breathe through the parasympathetic and you work with the conscious self, you're learning how to calm down all of that inflammation that you've put into the subconscious mind by stimulating the sympathetic nervous system when you're stressed out. Okay? When you got fight or flight. All of that is embedding and imbuing directly into your subconscious. This is why we have the idea of a subconscious, right? Truthfully, we don't, but we use that as a compartment. And so through that subconscious compartment, when we're getting stressed, when we're getting tense, when we're getting angry, it shows in our breath. I don't know if I can bear this. Right? And we're getting all stressed out, we're getting all tense, we're getting all worked up, and all of that's going into the sympathetic, which is depositing that directly into your subconscious. Right? So all of that's getting buried, which means you're creating an inferno for yourself. You're creating all these flames in the subconscious, and it's going to rebound. And the way to avert that is to work more with the parasympathetic. As you're calming down the conscious self, the subconscious will start to get that too. Okay? It's going to start putting the flames out in your subconscious mind with all the times that you have been stressed and that you have been tense. So the more that you are working together with parasympathetic through the idea of heart rate variability, then the more that you're going to be able to put out a lot of those fires. You're going to put out a lot of those flames as we work with the conscious mind and as we work together with the parasympathetic. You start to calm yourself down, you start to move yourself into relaxation, and now you're able to clear away all that stuff in the subconscious mind. Brad, what's a good way to do that? Prana transmission technique, BCR technique, okay? cord removal healing, conflict elimination technique. You got 4 free healing techniques on this channel through the playlists that you guys can check out. Are you guys doing that daily? That's a reminder for you. That's going to help you through this because you guys constantly worry about things. And that's what's creating an inferno. Because we're depositing that like an account balance into our subconscious bank account. Here's more flames, here's more stress, here's more tension, here's more worry, here's more anxiety, here's more anger, here's more aggression, here's more fear, here's more anxiety. I'm putting all of that into the subconscious because of how I breathe. Because when I'm doing heart rate variability, I'm not freaking out. But if I am not doing heart rate variability, then I am going to be freaking out. Okay? So this is how you're able to bring a balance to yourself. We bring ourselves into calmness first, and then we start working with healing. Okay? So what we're going to do right now is we're going to do 10 heart rate variability breaths. Okay? This is what I would say is the minimum for you. Breathe with heart rate variability at least 10 times before you do any form of healing. And even if it's healing that's outside of my healing practices. Okay? If you're doing Reiki, if you're doing quantum healing, if you're doing hypnosis, whatever it is. Okay? Making sure you're taking 10 heart rate variability breaths. Okay? So we're going to breathe in for 4 seconds. We're going to breathe out for 6 seconds. Okay? In for 4, out for 6, all through the nose, not through the mouth. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that now. 10 HRV breaths. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more time. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Relax. All right. So how are you feeling? After 10 heart rate variability breaths, one of the common things we'll feel is I feel light, kind of feel a little bit lightheaded. I feel kind of floaty. I feel a tingling within me. Maybe my hands are starting to get a little bit tingly, right? Maybe I might still feel a warm sensation within the hands. My face may start to feel a little bit tingly. My back may start to feel a little bit tingly. My body may start to feel a little bit tingly. That's great. That's all part of the effects of heart rate variability. Because when you're doing that, firstly, not only are you stimulating the parasympathetic, secondly, you're stimulating the vagus nerve. Thirdly, you're stimulating the heart so that the heart rate goes down a little bit. Okay? So everything now starts to get stimulated through the parasympathetic nervous system, through the dorsal vagal complex, and you're now moving yourself into a much more relaxed posture. See, guys, that didn't cost you anything, right? Didn't cost you a fortune to know how to do heart rate variability. Okay, it didn't cost you anything to get yourself nice and relaxed, nice and calm. And this is what we do. So we work together with heart rate variability, just doing 10 breaths, and now we're ready to do some healing work. Okay. 7C says, is crystal healing good way to balance chakras and wake up Kundalini? I wouldn't say the Kundalini part, no, but we're working together with the chakras. Sure, yeah, absolutely. If you're basically personally imbuing the crystals with maybe a prayer, maybe with a blessing as well too, maybe if you're Om chanting into the crystals as well too, and then you can put them along the chakra centers, certainly you can do that. Okay. Now again, I've talked about in previous videos where the chakra centers are actually located. Okay, because if we look at the common New Age charts where you believe that the chakras are through those New Age charts, they're pretty much incorrect. Okay, So basically, you have to remember that the root chakra is at the very last bone of the tailbone, okay? And that you can feel the root chakra when you contract your rectal muscle and you release it, okay? The second chakra, Svadhisthana, it can be detected when you're basically contracting the urethra, like when you're holding in because you have to pee, right? You're holding it in, and then you're releasing it, okay? When you release the urethra, that's you being able to feel the second chakra, okay? It's right at the triangular sacrum bone right at the top, and you feel it when you contract the urethra. So you contract it and release it, okay? Third chakra is at the bottom of the navel. So this is where the New Age charts get confused. They think the solar plexus is a chakra, and it's not, okay? Guys, the solar plexus is not a chakra, okay? There's a center there, but it's not relating to a chakra. I'm going to be doing a video on this in the next few days about the difference between chakras and another particular center, okay? But the third chakra is just below the navel, okay? It's just right below the belly button, okay? So when you suck in the gut, and that muscle is touching the back of the spine, and then you release, that's the Manipura chakra, okay? That's the third chakra, okay? So you're sucking in the gut, so that muscle touches the back of the spine, and then you release. And it's right below the belly button, okay? That's the third chakra, that's Manipura, okay? Then we go up into the fourth chakra, representing the heart. And the thing you want to do is you want to kind of just like you're reaching out ready to hug somebody, right? I haven't seen you in years. And your shoulder blades are going back. All right, and there's that middle part right in between the shoulder blades, right behind the thymus gland. Okay, so when you're basically just bringing the hands out like this, you're ready to hug somebody, and then you let it go, right? That's where you're actually feeling the heart chakra. Okay, it's right behind the thymus gland, that butterfly-shaped gland. Okay. And it's kind of like right in between the shoulder blades as you're getting ready to hug somebody, okay? So that's how you would find the fourth chakra, the heart chakra, okay? The fifth chakra, this is actually thanks to Forrest Knudsen, who was able to discover this one. With your fifth chakra, with the throat, or again what we refer to as the Vishuddhi chakra, all you're doing is you're making a guttural sound, and it's the sound K-A-A. Okay, so you actually can feel that vibration in the throat. And you can feel it upon the bone right down here. So it's right close to the thyroid gland. But you're doing the guttural sound. You feel that little vibration between the thyroid gland and the bone of the throat. And that is where the throat chakra, or the Vishuddhi chakra, is. Okay. The sixth chakra, and again, this is mentioned in quite a lot of Kundalini books, Kundalini yoga books, Kriya yoga books as well too. The sixth chakra, you actually want to pay attention to the medulla oblongata, not this. Okay, this is the lens, all right, and it's important, but you're actually looking at the bundle of nerves, okay, and that's the medulla oblongata at the brainstem. Okay, so basically, there's two different ways to discover the medulla oblongata. I'll basically talk about Forrest Knudsen's way. All right. So the way that he refers to is just doing this. Okay. And you feel that little screw, that little bolt that's connected in between the neck and the skull, at the base of the skull. You feel that little screw. Okay. And you're just slowly shaking your head gently, just like this, and you'll feel it. And that's the screw, and that's close to where the medulla oblongata is. Now there's my version, okay? So my version is you're doing throat friction, okay? So you basically have your jaw open, and you can just breathe in through your mouth, it's okay. So it sounds like that. Okay, so you're doing the throat friction, and you feel the friction of your breath touching the back of your throat, and that's where you're actually feeling the medulla oblongata, okay? So you can do it two ways, either with what Forrest Knudsen suggests, right, where we're feeling that little screw in between the neck and the skull, okay, which is a good way, because I've used that too. Or you can do throat friction, right? So you're just relaxing the jaw, letting it open a little bit, and you feel the friction of your breath touching the back of the throat, and that's basically going right towards the medulla. In fact, if you guys want to majorly enhance your inner sight, what you would do is throat friction breathing, okay? But we're not really doing it through the mouth, okay? I do it through the mouth because you get much more of a sound out of it. But what you're doing is you're basically just doing that throat friction with your jaw loose, okay, but the mouth is closed. Okay, so you're just doing, it's almost kind of like the ocean breath. It's similar to Ujjayi, but it's not really Ujjayi. It's more of, again, throat friction. So you're feeling the friction of your breath going behind the throat, and it's stimulating the medulla. That's what it's doing. That's why we sometimes find meditators talking about throat friction. I said that you're just doing the throat friction breath. You're not doing this. Right? You're not doing that. You're not doing that either. Okay? It's all throat friction. It's like how I used to breathe when I was channeling Adronis. When I would start to bring him in, I would do throat friction a lot with him because that really stimulates the medulla and that stimulates your inner sight. Okay? If you guys want to develop yourself with inner sight, well, that's one of the things that you can do, is you do throat friction. Okay? Throat friction helps to stimulate the medulla, hence stimulating the brow chakra, the anya. Okay? Second thing you can do as well too is Nadi Shodhana Pranayam. Okay, not the single nostril breathing, but just being able to breathe in, switch, breathe out. Okay, that's Nadi Shodhana Pranayam. Okay, it's not Chandra, because I'm not really teaching that anymore because that thing has some risks to it. Okay, so Nadi Shodhana Pranayam is another good way of stimulating the brow center. Okay, so that's the Anya chakra. So that's just kind of a brief segue here to help with the previous question about the chakras, right? Working together with putting the crystals on the chakras. Yeah, you can certainly do that as well too. But like I said, the most important thing is that you're putting your own essence into the crystal itself, right? So now that you know where the chakras are properly located, you can now put crystals there. So when you're working with a crystal, it's okay, you can put a crystal here, right? But our attention is going down to the medulla, okay? We're not putting a crystal here on the solar plexus, we're just putting it here at the navel, okay? And one here at the heart, one here around the pit of the throat, okay? And the other one up here. And you can use that, and like I said, just be able to imbue your own loving energy into every crystal that you're working with, okay? But no, it does not work with Kundalini. Kundalini is a different story, okay? That's what I'm teaching my students right now because they're getting Kundalini awakenings. It's a completely different story involving Kundalini, but we'll get into that at another time. Anyways, guys, we're going to go ahead and get into the inner practice here. So we've already done the 10 heart rate variability breaths. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do Hakalau, okay? Where we're basically just expanding our awareness, okay? So I want you just to take both of your index fingers here now, and I want you just to put them at the edge of your peripheral vision. Okay, so left and right index fingers at the edge of our own respective peripheral vision, and we're just looking forward. We're just looking forward with the foveal vision, but we're also bringing our awareness to the left and to the right fingers, just so we see them at the edge of our peripherals. So staring ahead, being aware of the peripherals of your index fingers there, doing this now. So you're being more aware of your peripherals than you are of your foveal vision. Right? So directly what's ahead of you, it's not really your focus. Your awareness is going to your peripherals. You're taking in more. Okay, we can drop the fingers now. So then we do what we know as a sensory exercise. Okay, so I just want you to look ahead, and I want you just to bring your awareness to your sight, not just to your foveal, but to your peripherals. And just be aware of what you're taking in. Okay, now we move down to the nose, we move down to the breath, we move down to the smell. And I want you just to be aware of what you're smelling. we move to the ears. And I want you just to be aware of what you're hearing. Okay, now we're going to go down to the tongue, and I want you just to be aware of what you're tasting. Now finally, we're going to go through the skin, and we're going to look at touch, right? So being aware of what is touching you or what you are touching. Be aware of the touch. Okay, now I want you to put all 5 senses together at the same time. I want you to be simultaneously aware of all 5 senses at the same time. Go ahead. Don't try to think about it, just be aware simultaneously of all 5 senses at once. And relax. Okay, so this is what the Hawaiians refer to as hakalau, right? So we're expanding our awareness. When you're focusing on all 5 senses at the same time, you don't have a single thought within your mind. Your mind is completely blank because you're just being aware of all 5 senses, of what I see, smell, taste, touch, and hear. And I'm just letting that all come in at the same time. We're letting it all in simultaneously. And that just brings your mind completely into silence. Okay? So just as you did antarmona, right, looking into the idea of that inner silence, just like we're doing through hakalau, we're just bringing ourselves into that silence once again, because we're just being aware of our senses. So this is kind of like a step before antarmona, right? Going into hakalau and just being aware of things. But when we go into the depth of antarmona, we're not thinking of anything. We're not being aware of anything other than the silence. So this is kind of like the step before, and then doing antarmona is going right deeply into it. Okay. All right. So thank you very much, everybody. And the next thing we're going to do right now is we're going to do a group healing. Okay. So we're going to do a group healing together. So I'm going to be working with the healing power for this one. And what I want you to do is if you guys have something for a friend or a family member, right? All I want you to do is just dedicate the healing that you're going to receive and just intend for that friend or relative of yours to receive it. So it's kind of like you're being the proxy, right? You're being the proxy for the healing, and you're just saying, send all this healing that's going to me and send it to my friend or my relative. Okay? So that's what we're going to do here, a group healing power. So, get yourselves nice and relaxed, nice and comfortable, taking a deep breath in, out to the nose, making sure your spine is nice and erect, okay? Placing your hands upon the center of your chest, closing your eyes now, and I want you to be aware of anything that's going on with you, any particular form of, whether it's a physical injury, whether it's a physical illness, whether it's an emotional state, whether it's a mental trauma, okay? Whatever it is, I just want you to bring it into your awareness right now. Or again, if this is a healing for somebody else, I want you to think of that person and what you know that they're going through, okay? And you're just saying in your mind, the healing that comes to me will go to them. The healing that comes to me will go to them. The healing that comes to me will go to them. Okay, so that's an option if you want this to go to your friend or relative, okay? All right, so taking another deep breath in and out. And now we're going to do another affirmation together. This affirmation will be the following. Repeat after me. I completely believe that the healing that I shall receive will heal me. Okay? And for those of you who are sending this to your friends or relatives, you say the following. I completely believe that the healing that shall be received will help them. Okay? So let yourself relax as I now connect with Spirit, and we'll begin the group healing power. And now I'll be sending each and every one of you distant, pure prana, receiving this now. Okay, everyone bring your hands together now in prayer posture. And as your hands are in prayer posture, we're going to say the final affirmation. Okay? And all that is God is making me better and better. 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 Now bringing your hands back to your chest. Okay, and just send love and blessings. If you're sending it to a friend or relative, just send love and blessings to Spirit, love and blessings to them. And if this healing is for yourself, just send love and blessings to Spirit, love and blessings, and knowing that God is making you better and better. With love and appreciation, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaskar. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me for the group healing. Okay. So we're going to go ahead now and switch gears. We're going to go ahead now and move into Q&A. Okay. So if you guys do have any questions for me, you can go ahead and put that now on the chat. So just feel free to place any questions that you have on the chat, and we'll take a look at them. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of scroll through the chat here right now. Actually, first I'll change windows. There we go. All right, so hello everybody. Welcome. Good to see you all here. So at the very top of the chat, I had a question from Lisa Scott asking, hey Brad, do you see them trying to mandate the you-know-what again in the fall? But Lisa, again, I've answered that question for you in the past, right? So there was a question before that you've given about the situation pertaining to the fall. And mandates, are they trying to put a new vaccination forward or a new virus forward? And the answer was no, right? So we're pretty much through all of that right now. But like I said, I've already answered that question for you in the past, okay? So it's the same answer as it was before. Thank you for your question nonetheless, okay? So, just going to scroll down the chat, and thank you guys for your donation. I appreciate that. Okay, Layla, thank you for your donation. So when you guys have physical conditions, when you guys have physical problems, did you know that prana transmission technique can help you with that? Okay, so whether you're using version 1 or whether you're using version 2 of the prana transmission technique, whether that's heart rate variability or whether that's Om Japa, okay, did you guys know that you can use that for physical conditions at the same time? Okay, so here's how you do it. I want you to watch closely, okay? So let's say, for example, I have a situation with vertigo, okay, because that was one of the questions here on the chat, okay? I have a feeling of vertigo, so all I'm doing is I'm just pulling up the awareness of the thought that is basically telling me about the sensation I have with vertigo, okay? How am I feeling with vertigo? It's making me dizzy, maybe it feels me a little bit nauseous at times, okay? So that's good. So you're aware of the thought that tells you you have vertigo, okay? And you're aware of the sensations that come together with that thought. So what we're going to do right now, this is particularly for the person that had that question about vertigo, is we're going to do the version 2 of prana transmission. Okay, but I'm just going to show you phase 1. Okay, you guys should pretty much be aware of phase 2, of how it works. Okay, if you're not, please make sure you're watching the playlists. Okay, the playlist has the 4 videos there, and it shows you phase 1 and phase 2. I'm just going to show you phase 1 to kind of save time. Okay. So again, I have that thought. It's telling me about the sensation of vertigo. Okay, I know what that feeling is like. Okay, very good. So all I want you to do right now is, now again, this is an optional. If you guys want to do the hands out, right, the transmission posture for phase 1, you can. Otherwise, you can just put your hand down in your lap. But when we get to phase 2, we want to make sure our hands are up. So again, I'm aware of that thought. Now I'm going to do Om Japa. And I'm directing that Om chant right into the thought surrounding vertigo. Om. Third and final time. Okay, so I've Om chanted directly into that thought, okay, and to the viewer who had that question, I hope you're doing it with me, okay? So now we look at that thought, how's it feeling? I feel a lot better, actually. It feels a lot better. Feels like that whole thing has gotten lighter and lighter, okay? Does it still affect me? No. Can I let it go? Yes. There you go. Guys, do you see how simple prana transmission technique is? It's simple and it's easy. Okay? This is why I'd really love you guys to try it. A lot of you guys come on here and tell me you have a lot of conditions, a lot of physical conditions, okay? And that's fine. But again, you want to be aware of what is available to you. You see, this is where we have to get out of this enslavement program of thinking that we don't have to be responsible. You got to be responsible, right? If you guys want to go free, if you guys want to liberate yourself, if you guys want to be out of the muck relating to the whole rat race of duality, you got to be responsible for yourselves, okay? So again, this is why I'm giving you a super duper simple practice that's simple and easy for you guys to do, right? So just doing that, you can feel it lifting. Great. Then we'd go into phase 2. We breathe in and out through spirit 3 times. We say our sankalpa. I am healing my body to clear away this condition. And I say that 2 more times, more sincerely. And then I just stay with my breath, doing heart rate variability in and out, until intuition says that I'm done. And all that is spirit working in the background, clearing away any of that feeling surrounding that thought that is embedded into the cellular body. All of that's being flushed out. So within less than about 3 minutes, guys, you're free from a condition that may have been with you for months or even years. We have to learn to be responsible. We got to get out of that enslavement program of telling you that someone else can be responsible for me. You got to get that out of your mind. Okay? That's an enslavement program. It's got to go. Please be responsible for yourselves. I can't emphasize that enough. All right? So again, to the viewer who had that question about that, that's what I can suggest. Work with prana transmission technique. Okay? All right. I just had a little error message here from YouTube, thinking that my... okay, looks like the... There it was. Okay, well, I hope you guys are still receiving me, because it looks like it says no data here, so... Okay. So can you guys still see me? Can you guys still hear me? Okay, just want to make sure you guys are still seeing me and still hearing me. You're fine. Okay, great. Thank you. I just needed to make sure because YouTube was giving me a weird error message there. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the other questions. So I'm just scrolling down now. Okay. Terry asked, was I supposed to smell a sweet smell? It was a nice fragrance that lasted shortly, but was there? I don't know. I'm not in your environment, Terry, so don't ask me. You have to kind of figure that out for yourself. Whatever you smell is what you smell, right? Then that's okay. Just take in. All we're doing is when we're doing that exercise of Hakalau, we're just smelling what we smell, right? Don't worry about what you're smelling. Just be aware that you're smelling something. That's the whole idea. But I can't tell you. I'm not in your space. So guys, I talked about the Georgia Guidestones yesterday in New Earth Insights. Okay, so you can just watch that. I'm not going into the investigation about how it basically got blown up or anything of that nature. I'm not doing that, okay? Because everybody will have their own theories about that. But basically in that sense, that was all part of the counterforces that was doing that, okay? But I'm not going to go into how it was destroyed or anything of that nature. You guys can play with that if you want, because that's not the important message. The important message was its destruction, okay? Like I talked about yesterday. So again, if you missed it, go check out New Earth Insights that I broadcasted yesterday. Okay. EP asked the question, will the school system crash this year? Well, that depends where you are. That depends where you are. If you're in Canada, or if you're in the United States, if you're in the UK, wherever you are, right? So you have to be a little bit more specific, EP. Where are you located, right? So we can kind of look into it a little more. But I can't really do a worldwide reading on it because every country is different with different happenings taking place. So again, guys, I like simple questions, but make sure you kind of let me know where you are so I can get an idea of something to look into when we look at the cards through it, okay? Okay, here's one from Kim Thomas. Kim says, do the various colors we might see when we close our eyes have particular meaning for each color? Well, you have to understand that thoughts do actually translate themselves as colors, okay? And that sound is the primordial catalyst in regards to everything that represents light, everything that represents form. Light, form, and matter is all part of the properties of the specific frequencies of sound. And what is it that brings forward sound? Consciousness. Okay, so consciousness is bringing about these sounds that we may never be able to perceive. But it is those particular sounds that is actually creating the matter, the form, the shape, the color of everything that represents an object or an image. Okay, I talked about this quite a long time ago when I was doing the show New Earth Practices, right? And there was one particular episode where I was talking about cymatics, where you basically have like a sound plate and you start pouring sand on the plate and you start blasting it with a frequency and it creates a geometry. Well, that's very much like how matter itself, form itself, light itself, image gets put together, right? The ether is like that fluidic substance that when the power of consciousness comes in, that sound now starts to manifest. It starts to bring forward an image, a light, a color, an object, a form. all together, right? That's all part of what the ether does. The ether, again, is what enables the substance to all matter to be formed, right? It all comes through the nature of the ether. So when we're looking at various colors, those various colors, again, can represent what we may be feeling as thoughts, right? So when it's like how some people may go on psychedelic journeys, right? Maybe they're having some psilocybin, for example, because I've had that. And you basically kind of sit quietly for about an hour or so, and then basically you have like a streaming effect. There's a streaming effect of colors that are coming together, okay? Those colors can relate to the environment. Those colors can also relate to yourself. It can relate to your feelings. It can relate to your thoughts, okay? They're all color vibrations, and unfortunately there's really no Rosetta Stone pertaining to the idea of what a lot of those colors mean. It's kind of like you can interpret that based on how you feel, right? So if you're feeling really, really happy and joyful, maybe you see a lot of pink, maybe you see a lot of kind of magenta colors coming together. If you're feeling really dark and miserable, right, you feel like there's kind of like a lot of sharpness. There's like a lot of, blood red or muddy red colors as well too. So there's kind of a general translation, but we don't really have a Rosetta Stone for the advanced aspects pertaining to how we can look at the language of color. Okay, but that certainly does happen. So basically, if you're looking at certain colors within yourself, and maybe you're just still of mind, that's great. Okay, of course, when we're getting into silence, we don't really dive into those things. We're just aware that there's colors showing, or we may just be aware that we have this thought, whatever it may be. We're not getting into the story. But if we're noticing that colors are coming in because we're going into a deeper state of being, we're going into the subtle state, and we may have a thought, and all of a sudden a color comes out of that thought, well, there you go. That's all part of, again, another hidden language that's behind the thought, right? Which, again, the contemporary is all through sound, okay? And, of course, the creator of that is consciousness. So thank you, Kim, for your question. So it's interesting because right below Sean has another question about sound frequencies, okay? So basically, the question is, hi Brad, could you explain about sound frequencies and how the ancients were able to move heavy objects such as building the pyramids? Well, like I said, a lot of it was sound frequency. But they basically had objects, instruments. Now basically, they have something in South Africa that I was able to find, I was able to witness with Michael Tallinger. When I was down in South Africa, Michael Tallinger, who I was with, showed me what was known as a toroidal stone, okay? So you have a toroidal stone here, it kind of looks kind of like this shape, and you have a hole in the middle of that toroidal stone. And what they would do is they would actually be able to use these toroidal stones and they would charge them up, right? They would actually do a lot of meditation with them, and they would actually do a lot of sound chanting, om chanting, okay? Or again, other particular types of frequencies of mantras. And they would have rods attached to these toroidal stones as well too. And they were so incredibly charged with that tonal frequency that they would be able to point that like a magnetic charge and start lifting stones. Okay, so they had two rods attached to the toroidal stone. That toroidal stone basically acted like a type of singularity, right? So they did a specific type of chanting that enabled that stone, that basically strengthened its magnetic current. Because when you actually do some tests in regards to the EMF of the magnetic field of the toroidal stone, you have to put it into a specific area of the toroidal stone. And that's where you feel an incredible power boost of magnetic energy coming out. So that's what they were able to do. They were able to charge these stones exponentially, these toroidal stones, and they would wear it across their neck, and they would have rods attached to them. And then through the power of the magnetic field being used, they could point, even using, again, the power of thought, and being able to point at a stone and lift it up, right? So they're actually directing these currents with their thoughts through the rods and being able to pick up the stone and place it on another slab. And they could even put it and embed it and imbue it directly into the slabbing stone that it connects to, right? And so the magnetic field would basically depolarize the material density of those two stones so that you could embed them into one another. That's really how we would say the building of the pyramids happened. You're looking at toroidal stones. You're looking at rods. You're looking at deep meditation. You're looking at advanced spiritual practice. You're looking at advanced psychic practice. You're looking at a very strong discipline of the mind. And they would be able to lift these stones up and put them on other stones and even embed them into the stones, right? So if you go to Egypt, and if you have a piece of paper, you can't even fit a piece of paper in between the stones because they are completely embedded with each other. So working together with that type of technology, you're able to completely manipulate matter. So they're able to depolarize it so that the effect of gravity, because it is an effect, it's not a law, okay? The effect of gravity won't have anything. All you're doing is you're just switching the polarities. Now, there was a fellow back in the 1940s known as Edward Leeds Skelnin, okay? And he basically built a structure called Coral Castle, okay? And he used the exact same method as how they built the pyramids. So he had a radio tuner. He had a radio tuner and he had a crane hoist, and he would lift up the stone and he would wrap it around with this particular type of wire. And then he would blast a radio tuner frequency into it, and then the stone itself would levitate. And then he could move it all by himself and start putting together Coral Castle. Okay, so I believe that's in Homestead, Florida now, if I'm not mistaken. But it's basically in Florida, and you can even go see it for yourself, right? This little man, he was like 5'8", maybe like 150 pounds, and he was able to build this all by himself. It was quite amazing. But he knew the secret of how the pyramids were built. So he was basically creating a modernized version of working with radio tuners and chain hoists and all that, and wrapping wire around the stones, and then being able to blast it with a frequency, and then being able to lift up these blocks, and then being able to put them down where he wanted to. He could also blast another frequency into the stone to actually embed it into the other stone, so you can't put a piece of paper in between it. Okay, so that again is a very simple modernized version of what they did in Egypt. What they did in Egypt was a lot more deeply psychic, much more deeply intuitive. Like I said, they would really charge up these stones. They would charge up these stones often with chanting, with the power of sound, right? And so then they could use it through the rods and direct the current and basically depolarize the rocks, depolarize the granite stones, and then being able to embed them into together. The idea of if we're looking at the Great Pyramid of Giza, would it amaze you that that actually was built in less than 1 day? It was built in less than 1 day when we're looking at the Great Pyramid of Giza. But they did a lot more than just moving stones around with the power of sound. That Great Pyramid of Giza was shining, right? It was like polished limestone. It's like nothing you could even see that even came from Earth. It was so incredible. It was like looking at a mirror, right? It's like looking at a pyramid mirror, pyramid glass, right? That just shone throughout the entire area of the Giza Plateau. So there's a lot more than just working with sound. They were able to work together with the power of consciousness to have shining limestone throughout the pyramid as well too, right? And had like a golden capstone at the top. But they built it from the top down. It was not from the bottom up. It was from the top down. That's why there was so much accuracy in regards to the placement of the pyramid, right? If you built it from the bottom up, you might be off a little bit. But they didn't. They basically built it from the top down. That's what's just truly amazing of it. And there were a lot of these, you could say, masters, alchemists, okay? Great psychic masters, intuitive masters, spiritual masters that gathered. You could say like the priests of Egypt, even a lot of the people from Atlantis would come and teach the Egyptians how to build pyramids, because Atlantis was basically the foundational civilization that brought pyramids to the planet, right? A lot of them came from Atlantis. There's even earlier pyramids as well too, but they were kind of like the foundation of human society that was actually including pyramids throughout their culture at that time. So they would go to Egypt and they would give them the secrets, tell them exactly how it was built. Yes, Thoth had a place in it as well too. He was kind of like the architect of that, but Thoth was an Atlantean, right? So he would go to Egypt and he would teach the priests exactly how to build the pyramids as they were built in Atlantis. And it was always from the top down. And they would work together with this simple technology, with toroidal stones, right? And charging them up and, again, imbuing them into each other. And again, how they got that polish, well, that's beautiful. My guess is that they're completely repolarized everything pertaining to the rock, making it shine, making it kind of like its crystalline nature come out and shine and be polished in the way that it was. It would be just such a great sight to see the Great Pyramid of Giza like a day old and seeing what it looked like. It'd be fantastic. So, Sean, that's a bit of an overview I can give you about that. Okay? Okay, this one here is from Co-Create Happy. Thanks for your contribution. Okay, so this is from him, from Co-Create Happy. Please describe how the protocols you teach, like Prana version 1, affects our physical body to heal, like you just explained, moving pyramid stones. So if we're looking into the idea of the prana transmission technique, well, firstly, guys, I'm not a scientist, but I'll do what I can. Basically, when you release emotional debris from your body, you have to look at the science pertaining to the nadis. Okay? So the nadis is referred to in Sanskrit as flow. Okay? So basically, we'd be looking at it as an energy body. You have 72,000 nadis within the body. When we get heavily distressed, when we basically get programmed with fear, when we get heavily concerned about all of these heavy conflicts that we're putting upon ourselves, there are specific vibrational areas within the body that will become compromised based upon the type of emotion that you're feeling. So you may have something in regards to an area in the hip that gets locked up over time because there's been so much heavy, emotional, anxious energy that has been actually blocking the prana flowing through the nadis. And so basically we're looking at the idea of, best way is kind of like looking at gunk. Seeing gunk or like tar blocking up an area, causing the lack of flow from the natural pranic body to flow through these nadis. So these nadis are getting blocked, right? So we get knee pain. The nadis there are all blocked up because of a lot of emotional stress. Our ankle is out of sorts because the prana itself through the nadi can't get through. The nadis are being blocked up from all of this stress. It's like all of that tar. Things are getting hardened when it comes to the energy body, right? If we're having situation with our organs, again, they're getting blocked up. The channels that lead to every single organ are getting blocked up because of emotional situations that are vibrationally responsible for plugging up the body. We're causing these clogs. We're basically having these dams form through the nadi centers as well too. So when you go into something like prana transmission and you're basically being able to identify the problem that you have, an emotional trigger, and you start to release that, the emotional body, the energy body, feels it right away. Okay? As it feels it right away, these things now start to get unblocked. As it gets unblocked within a matter of days, the physical body is now starting to reciprocate that freeing of the emotional conflict altogether. So again, the nadis are energetic. You cannot see them. They exist in the causal plane. They're linked to the causal body. Okay? So when we're looking at the causal body, the astral body, the physical body, that's like the drip. Okay? So the causal body is the blueprint. The astral body is like the thought blueprint. And then we go into the physical body being the material blueprint. Okay? So it goes down and it drops down in that way. So when you're working together with prana transmission technique and you're freeing these things up, whether you're doing Om chanting or whether you're doing heart rate variability, doesn't matter, whichever you prefer, okay? Then what you're doing is you're releasing the thought. You no longer feel that emotional inflammation surrounding that thought. That emotional inflammation is completely snuffed out. All that remains is the thought. The thought itself is innocent. It's neutral. It's just a prop. It's just a thing. You can now let it go. There's no more emotional tug relating to that thought that you have mistaken as identity. That's now freed up. Now you can push it away. When we free that up, you're freeing up all of that congestion within the nadis, right? So the nadi channels can now naturally start to flow. So that happens in the causal, that drips down to the astral, that moves into the material body. Within a matter of days, you'll start to feel the body improving because it's the physical body, and the physical body moves the slowest. Okay? So again, in the causal, it's instant. In the astral, it's practically instant as well too. And then it drips down to the material. And because everything operates on a much more slower vibratory level here, you start to see these things moving away or transforming within a matter of days, quite commonly, right? Sometimes it could even be 24 hours. Depends on the person. But you have to look at this as an energy body, because if you're trying to look at understanding all of these things from the physical body, co-create happy, you'll never get it. Okay? The physical body is not the primary. You have to look at the causal body. The causal body is the primary architect. It is the map. That is the holder that holds the map of your entire imprint of your body. That exists in the causal because it's an idea plane. Okay? It's the plane of ideas. It's the plane of concepts. So therefore, as everything is getting corrected, everything starts to bring itself back into a state of normalcy. So as the nadis are flowing, because that's our energetic nervous system, that's the flow. That's, again, what you're getting through the prana. As the prana comes into you, you're feeling it flowing through the nadis. As you start to relax yourself, as you start to release, as you start to let go of these emotional and traumatic conflicts, all of that congestion now starts to go. It's not existing in the pranic body because you're no longer giving it power, because we are so very influential to the energy that flows through our body. So now that we're working together with ourselves, we're not working against ourselves, the nadis can now start to free themselves up, and now those areas can get repaired, and within a matter of days, your body feels 100% better. This is what I'm attempting to teach you guys, is that if you want to completely heal yourself up, if you guys want to reverse your age, you do prana transmission technique, you do BCR technique. You're clearing away all of these blockages and all of these beliefs and all of these conflicts and all of these traumas. Once they start getting freed up, you could look 25 years old again. Let's say you're 50 years old. You want to look 25, that won't be a problem. You're clearing away all the conflicts that are basically telling you that you can't do this, and now you're watching it happen. Guys, I've demonstrated the youth body on this YouTube channel for 30 days, saying that I could do it, and it was done. You guys can do it as well too. All right? So like I said, when you're working together with these practices, you are completely rehabilitating yourself. You are working together with the prana, the flow of your body, and clearing away all of these congestions, all of these dams that have been built up of this gunk and this tar, and now it completely frees itself from the body, and now you're being completely restored. That's why this is great, guys. You don't need a frigging med bed. Right? You have this power within yourself that med bed could never touch. Right? You have an advantage when you start to expand yourself, but what's the catch? You have to be responsible. You got to be responsible, and you got to be willing to clean yourself up. That's the real catch here. I got to be responsible, and I'm going to take responsibility for myself, and I'm going to clean myself up. So that is the energetic science behind it, because I can only really explain it energetically. The physical body we give way too much credit to. It's the lowest and slowest and densest of all the bodies. So if you really want to know what's really going on, you work with the subtle bodies. You work with the higher bodies. That's giving you much more of a scientific indication about what's taking place. As you understand the mechanics of prana, as you understand the nadis, as you understand the chakras, as you understand the dantians, as you understand everything that represents the energetic property of this map that we call a body, it all starts from the causal and drips its way down. Okay? So co-create happy, that's what I can share regarding that. All right, thank you very much. Good question too. All right. So then we're going to take about 2 or 3 more questions, guys, and we're going to wrap up. So this one here is from Royce is the Best Trapper. So when we eventually move into the new Earth collectively, will we still have problems and obstacles to overcome? Is the idea that we will just be better suited to deal with these issues? That all depends, Roy. Okay? I can't really answer your question generically because not everybody is going to be moving into a new Earth. Okay? Only certain people are going to be. So there's a certain qualification that is needed here. Okay? Do you guys remember the video that I did about the lower world and the higher world? Okay? That's giving you the close approximation of a general answer I can give you. If we're in the lower world, if we're too completely enamored with identity, if we're completely too enamored with greed, if we're just screaming for negativity, if we want to use people, if we want to manipulate people, if we're basically just kept inside a box that basically would be personified as our own personal hell, you're not going anywhere. You're going to stay in that lower world. Okay? There's something very interesting in regards to what Jesus talked about the nature of the kingdom of heaven. Okay? The kingdom of heaven is not something that resides within here. It represents the mind. The kingdom of heaven represents the nature of the expansion of mind. So when you basically do all these great things, yours is the kingdom of heaven. This represents that your deeds that you are performing is going to expand you into the higher world. It's going to move you into the higher spheres. And that is what represents the heart level and above. Okay? So that's really how I can simplify it in the closest way that I can pertaining to a general term. If you are living inside the heart, if you are responsible, which is big, okay, you got to be responsible. Responsibility is heart chakra and above. If you're not responsible, then you're in the lower realms here. And you're just playing around with the physical. You're still going to go through suffering. You're still playing with the illusion of duality. Okay, I'm going to show you guys another example. You guys know this? Okay, what we call the finger puzzle. Okay, or what we could call the finger trap. So I'm going to give you guys a demonstration. So I put the finger trap on, and I start pushing. Come on, I want this. I got to get through this. This. I have to get past this anger. This anger is just so intense. I want to try and get out of this stuff. This world is so unfair. Everything's unfair. Everybody's to blame. It's everybody else's fault. I can't do this. I can't be responsible. There's no way I can do this. Look what I'm doing. I'm tugging and tugging and tugging at the finger trap, and it's only making the grip tighter. That's what a lot of you guys that may be watching this right now are doing to yourselves. You're going into suffering and you're tugging, and you think you can break free the more that you tug. Well, I'm really, really tugging at this sumbitch, and I can't get free. Okay? But what happens when I relax? What happens when I get calm? What happens when I surrender? When I surrender, there's a free finger. When I surrender, there's a free finger. I'm out of the illusion of suffering. The more resistance that you are putting into yourself, the worse off you're going to get. The more that you think that this is a bitter, suffering world, that this is a prison planet, that I'm completely confining myself with everything that represents horribleness and anger and conflict and trauma, and I can't get out of this, and woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. Well, that's you just tightening the grip of the finger trap, and you're not going to be able to get out of it. What do? You learn to surrender, right? So this is why it's actually a really ingenious invention. It's teaching you to surrender. It's teaching you to stop struggling. It's teaching you to be calm. And then when you're calm, you'll be able to slip the fingers out, and you'll be free of the trap. Well, that is exactly what reality is all about. You are learning that you think you exist in duality when there is no duality. You've never experienced duality. And me attempting to explain that to you, I don't know how well I'm doing. But nonetheless, all there truly is the non-dual. What happens is that we get under this mind control program of thinking that we're the body and we're the mind. And as long as we think that we're the body and we're the mind, then you're going to be vulnerable to all forms of suffering that are susceptible to a body and to a mind. But you are not the body and you are not the mind. You are borrowing a body. You have access to a mind, but you're neither of them. You're spirit. Your essence. You are God. You are pure consciousness. You are the self. That's who you really are. And until you actually snap out of this delusion of thinking that you're the body and you're the mind, then you're going to be susceptible to suffering. Suffering of all kinds. And it's for those particular people who are being responsible, they get out of the trap and now they start moving up to heart level. And now that they start moving up to heart level, they go higher. They go up to the throat, they go up into the Anya, they go up into Sahasrara, and now they start to be one with the higher realms. They can go all the way up into the glorious kingdoms, into the beautiful paradises that represent the higher mind, or you can even go beyond that into no mind, where everything truly is permanently peaceful, prosperous, happy, joyful, blissful. But in order for you to do that, you have to come to the heart. You have to get out of this illusion that you are continuing to spin, thinking that you're just a feeble, vulnerable human being. And I'll tell you the way that I live, guys. When I look at those two words, human being, I don't live like that. I take being here and I put it over here. I say being human. So I put beingness ahead of humanity. And that is how you truly live. You're not a human being. You're being human. Okay? Human is last. Human is second. Beingness is first. I am being human. So as I put my beingness first, I am able to move myself way past anything that represents the identity of a body and a mind, because I am not those things. I am beingness. And when I'm in beingness, I even go beyond the mind. I go into no mind, just like what you guys were able to experience briefly through Antar Mona, when you were coming right to the last step and just be in the silent state. That's you going into beingness. That's what Antar Mona is teaching you, but it takes you through this little roller coaster ride, right? We start off with working with the body. We start off with sensations. We start off with the environment. We start off with the thoughts. We let all those thoughts go, and then we come into silence. Now we come into no mind. Now we come into samadhi. Now we come into completely being liberated past the body-mind principle. That's how you guys set yourself free. That's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you this, guys, because I've done it. This is an experienced person telling you this is what you do. So when you really start to see that, say, wow, okay, I am going to go up into the higher mind. If I even just want to go up to the higher mind, that's great. That's way better than where you are right now in the lower mind, thinking that you're on a prison planet, thinking that the government's doing this to me, and the government's doing that to me, and my neighbor's doing this to me, and my family's doing this to me, and blah, 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 and I'm the innocent one here, but blah, 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 but I'm the victim, and this person's the aggressor, etc., etc. You are in a cage. And you're in a cage for as long as you can until you outgrow that stuff. And when you finally outgrow it, you break through the cage. Now you're going up into the heart level because you're being responsible. The heart level equals self-responsibility. So when we get there, those are the people that are going to move into the higher earth. Those are the ones that are going to graduate. Okay? The ones that are not at heart level will not graduate. They're still going to stay in regards to their muck. They're still going to stay with their mess. If you are not self-responsible, you are staying in the lower world. That's just the truth of the matter. You have to learn to be responsible. You have to take matters into your own hands. You have to realize that you're the only one that you can change because there's only you here. All right? So Roy, that's basically the answer to your question that I can provide. Okay? Now, when you have problems and obstacles, yeah, sure, you're still going to have challenges when you're going up to the heart level and above. Okay, there will still be challenges, but nothing like what you would refer to as the dualistic, heavy, physicalized challenges. A lot more of the idea of the problems really wouldn't be problems. It's basically just continuing to challenge yourself to be better and better. It's challenging yourself to go deeper and deeper. It's challenging yourself to be much more blissful and much more expansive. It's challenging yourself to be more of service. It's challenging yourself to be even more compassionate. It's challenging yourself to be even more loving. You're bettering yourself in those higher planes. You're not going through the run-of-the-mill duality illusion like you do in the material planes. Okay? That's how you transcend the material plane. You got to get out of feeling that somebody else is responsible for you. You got to clear away dependency, and you got to come up into the responsible level. When you come into responsibility, you don't even have to touch the earth plane ever again. Okay? You have to get to heart level to do that. And so what our goal is that we're clearing away desires of being here on the earth plane, of relying on the materialistic world. All that's got to go, right? There should be nothing that keeps you here on this planet. Everything that represents materialistic desires are now being forgiven through you. And now you move up into the higher planes. Now you're going to experience even better looking planets, more beautiful planets, worlds and dimensions that are so incredibly magnificent, they are even more beautiful than the most beautiful dream you've ever had. That's what you're looking forward to. But in order for us to get there, we got to cross the threshold. We got to go from that third chakra, right, representing Manipura, the willpower, the ego, right, and we got to flip it around and turn it into responsibility. And that's how you get up into the heart. Okay? So the challenges, not problems, of the higher density is continuing to better yourself. Okay? You're not in the rat race anymore. That's a materialistic thing. All right, so Roy, thank you for your question. Okay, guys, we'll take one more question, and we're going to wrap up today. Okay, let's take a look at a current events question here. This one here is from MA. MA says, was the major Rogers communication outage today in Ontario and Quebec a harbinger of a big change in banking circumstances, like something related to Nicera, Gacera, or something else? Well, I've already given my perspective of Nicera and Gacera in the past, but we'll take a look and saying, was there indeed, was it a harbinger of a big change in banking circumstances? Okay, so let's take a look about what's happening in Ontario and Quebec, about a major Rogers communication outage. Was this a harbinger of a big change in banking circumstances? So let's take a look. Yes, you could certainly say that. Right? I would have to agree with you there, MA. Okay, this is definitely a surge, a change that's taking place. So it feels like there may be some preeminences to the idea perhaps of a new financial rollout that is basically taking place, right? That there may be some communication droppages taking place, and this may represent the idea of something brand new coming in, but it is certainly counterforce driven, okay? So this is counterforce, and this is a very good thing, right? So when we're looking into this a low or a high card, rather than saying hopes and fears, I would say there's a high ground and there's a low ground, right? This is the high ground. This is something much more higher, something much more prosperous that's coming together. So there's work being done behind the scenes. There's a lot of rebuilding, restructuring, remodeling of the current system that's taking place. So you could say it's kind of like under construction signs are coming together here all together, all right? So there's going to be some significant changes in that way. A lot of the old is not going to be available anymore. The new is coming together. So in the next couple of months, we may start to see more increases of that, right? Maybe some communication delays, maybe some outages, but again, just letting you know that something big is shifting, something big is transforming, and something new is on the horizon that will replace the old form of banking cartels and finances altogether. So this is a prelude to something big that's coming. Like I said, 2023 feels more like the golden year pertaining to financial reset. So we may be seeing, again, a prelude to that right now with what's happening in Ontario, Quebec, pertaining to banking circumstances. Okay, not Nicera, not Gacera, but the idea of the new financial systems that are coming together, right? Renewed aspect, everything that we're, again, as we look into the times of 2023, we may start to feel, again, a lot of finances resetting. Okay, just a lot of things resetting, and we may even start to see down the road more the idea of global currencies just being defaulted to a base value so that all currencies are equal. There's no better currency than another in that way. And that will happen physically, that will happen digitally, that can happen all over. I can't give an idea of when that's exactly going to happen, but it's certainly going to be leading to things like that. Okay, so just a complete and total financial resurgence here that's going to bring about the end of debt, the end of fiat, right? That's where we're going. So this feels like a prelude to that. Okay, so thank you, MA. Thank you, everybody, for all of your questions today. I really appreciate it. And MA also says there was a major outage in banking. Oh no, it was. I'm not sure if he's asking a question. If there is another outage in the United States today. Okay, so if that's happening in the U.S. as well too, well, there you go. There's some broadness happening relating to this situation altogether. So maybe we'll look into that next week a little bit more. Okay, thank you guys for again being a part of today's New Earth TV Live, and I'll speak to you again, guys, next week. I'll be back next Thursday with another New Earth Insights, and then Friday next week is with Janine, interview number 3. Take care, guys. Thank you so much. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaskar, and may it be well with you. Goodbye for now. Thank you very much for checking out the New Earth Teachings YouTube channel. Feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And you can check out the websites, newearthteachings.com, where you can order a private session, 3 questions by email, EQ method, and a lot more. And you can also check out healingcodecards.com, where you can grab your mind deck, your body deck, and of course the brand new Body Deck Special Edition. All of these are available in digital editions as well. And you can also get a shirt just like this through healingcodeshop.com, where you can experience the healing codes in apparel form. So feel free to check out these websites. Thank you so much, and I'll speak to you again in the next video. Be well.